First of all, I just want to start off by saying thank you, God. um, this is important for me to start saying that because as a target individual, all these horrible things that's happening to us, when you reflect and think about what's worse than that, is be a perp, one of these losers. These losers, the government contract to do these things. There's some bottom feeders willing to sell their own children, having this non-adult participating, being groomed in trashiness and foulness, and tantrums that will maybe push them to get hurt. Disconnecting themselves on purpose from reality, from what they're part of, which can put these clowns into dangerous situation. And I'm just thankful. Thank you, God, that I didn't give him the option to live like this trash. It's so pathetic. Like, the more I realize, like, man, the government really is exploiting some of these losers. And they live a life of constantly creating reality. But the reality what they're part of is not, nobody's like, I'm not subscribing to it. Many target individuals don't. And unfortunately, what happens is some target individual face some of these perps and react in ways that's deadly. Because these clowns, these perps, think they can be involved in this, and there's no consequences. The government let them do their thing, participate, but trust me, they can let you as a target individual crash out. They'll watch you prepare for the crashing out. And guess who's going to be the casualty? Most likely it's going to be one of these loser perps that's just a nothing. Just some little bottom feeders who thought that people are just going to just submit to this torment. Thought that the way this stupidity is being pushed in from your face was going to be subscribed to. A lot of these clowns, they like disconnect themselves really from the level of just pure. It's not even stupidity. It's it's idiocy in an industrialized way. And it's not like, the best part is like they still try to brainwash you, applying these theatrical tactics, these repetitive things that is purely meant to be brainwashing, to make you forget the reality of how horrible this thing is, and the reality of what what's happening, in reality what's happening to your brain. And it's failing big time, and they still don't get it. They think, okay, we're gonna. So if this thing was, imagine if they did that in your face, because a lot of this that's happening to us target individual is remote, right? This is a program utilizing very advanced technology. This is a governmental program, and they're utilizing this technology that can project their voices into your brain and even alter your brain. So I'm dealing with V2K and synthetic telepathy that can do alteration to my brain, and also while this is happening, can hear these projected voices of some clownery. Oh my gosh, pure retards that are there to create a state of infantility in your brain, like childlikeness, like you become. And they really, and in my mind, I'm like, you know the danger you're putting yourself at. Because these perps, what happens is, it seems like they gaslight themselves more than you. It seems like they really believe that this is working. This is making me subscribe to this clear, disturbing 24/7 alteration. And then I'm forgetting that the same people trying to paint themselves this way are involved in something where they harm the most vulnerable and put so much effort in covering up the horror of torturing children that the program that they're part of is doing. And so they think they send some little trolling childlike individual can cover that up with a little tantrum. It's retarded. And there's a purpose why, excuse my language if I use that word, but let me just say a little bit more in a smart way to describe what's happening here. It seems like for me, and for a lot of target individuals too, but me, I can just speak about what's happening in regard to purpose. It's like they like to surround me with people who are not fully developed mentally or behave such a way. And it seems like because they want me to start rationalizing in this nonsensical way, that the way to help doing that is to have people who at least sound like they're not fully there mentally. And I mean in a very childlike way. Or even if they do sound like they're like mature and adult, but say the most retarded things you can imagine. And it seems like it's done for me to start accepting and rationalizing this manipulation that's clear alteration of my mind. And they need me to think like a mentally non-fully developed person to think like that, to be rationalizing this way. And the thing, at some point, I'm gonna become, I'm immersed in that stupidity that I'm gonna subscribe to it. You know, these clowns, the neighbors, how they behave. They really think they just like Jedi mind trick you into like, just because you are paid to behave like a clown. While having their dogs bark. You know how, the thing, they always have like a dog here that barks, and it's part of like this noise campaign. Another target image will bring that up. If you live in the apartments, apparently neighbors with dogs will have their dog like trigger the dogs to bark, to agitate the target image. This is something they do. And there's some dog over there that they always like have this dog bark, and they do the same thing. Yes, I'm saying that they make me imagine, but they always have this dog bark, and you've seen some of my videos. So they do these things that other target individual clearly said, because target individual who lives in apartments have mentioned that neighbors have their dog bark when I go out, when something is happening. It's like they try to trigger something, and it's part of the thing. So they do the same thing and then try to gaslight you in theatrical way. That's why I filmed them. They need to see this trash in the way they look when they do their thing. See yourself. Look what you look like. Every time I step out of here, I need at this point to wear a body cam. So when they try to recreate reality, prep to see yourself. Prep to see reality. But I want to go back and say thank you, God. I'm going to spend this first 8 minutes or so to be thankful to God for the fact that it seems like anybody could participate in this thing. They don't pick the creme de la creme to involve in this perping. And so I want to say thank you, God, that I didn't live life to be what they call themselves gods. And they say that to annoy me, but it doesn't annoy me too much, because you know what, people who call themselves gods, especially that much of nothingness, it's a matter of time, and they just escape from reality. This program seems to empower a lot, and I understand why. Your life is completely destroyed, but it's destroyed in ways that is done with some advanced level of technology. Your whole life is orchestrated, and they can do so much to you physically and psychologically in such a slow process too. And the losers, these nothings that they contract, they find so much empowerment, because I can be involved in something that slowly destroyed their life, or do something in this fashion toward a target individual. Well, they're the little nothings. Listen, this purpose, if they die, like I keep saying, if they die today, you won't even notice anything changing in your targeting. Your targeting will not change. They're very insignificant. That's why harming them will not. It is not going to. They are nothings. You get sick. You mentally be rewired. Like you won't even notice. But They want you to be like, yeah, no, guys, like you're nothing. You're the bottom feeders in this whole thing. Just happy to be involved in a program where you feel special, empowered, and feeling intoxicated by the fact that you can do all these things to somebody remotely. From the mind being manipulated to the body being destroyed. Using some little loser like you. For me, I'm just thankful. Now, with that being said, let's go get back to the sufferance. Things are not looking good, especially my health right now is feeling really bad. They tell me that that I'll be starving, and I'm already semi-starving, I should say, because I'm losing a lot of weight and I've not gained the weight back, and I know my stomach is just being destroyed. And every time I eat, I feel like I eat like a bird right now, like just a little snacking here and there. But I don't remember last time I've been full. And it's not because I cannot afford to buy food. It's because my guts, my stomach feels really off. I feel like when I eat, I shouldn't be eating. So something in my intestines, and I remember before I even moved to this apartment, they were really targeting my intestine. Really like doing things to it. And it's painful, but it's not really painful, because I'm not somebody who eats too much in general, but it's just you wasting away, and I can feel it. And now my stomach is even worse. Now I can feel like I'm more uncomfortable feeling in the stomach. I don't even try to eat. Even drinking right now, I'm drinking juice, and feel like my stomach is just weird. And I've been to the doctor, and usually everything comes clear, but at this point I'm just gonna go back and see if what's gonna happen there. But I don't expect to get the results, the proper results, in regard of like tell me what's happening there. But they're damaging me even more. Now I can feel it more physically. It's more than just like the psychological torture. Now physically I'm very fatigued. Making this video, I feel really it's taking a lot out of me, and that's because of the health. My organs are just not doing well. My digesting organs specifically, and my internal organs on this, like in the stomach area. And at the same time, I'm being mentally tortured, and so the tortures are the same. This is my secondary video. I tried to make the same video yesterday, but somehow it didn't work. It's okay, because I do these videos. I try to do it on a daily basis. So if today I can never speak again, everything has been said multiple times. So, and yesterday they were trying to create mental battles. Listen, I deal with some clownery, but at the same time, this is by design. They've tried to really push me into a state of pure stupidity to internalize this disgusting manipulation. They play with my libido. My sexual arousals are manipulated all the time to degrade me. It's weaponized onto you. And they do these things in these disgusting ways. They do the pedophilia type of torture that I've been bringing up. It's nasty. This pedophilia type of torture is something other target individuals have said. They do these tormenting tactics where they can make you have sexual arousals every time you see children. Then they use these clowns that you've seen around. This perps them. For me, let me give you an example. This is just like more of what they look like when, around here. When I live here, they come in all shape or form. But this is like the typical who are like somewhat people who live around. Like this. Like not even like, and they love to like look at their phone and like, this is where I'm supposed to think like this their research. It's nasty. They're doing something, but it's disgusting in the sense that they're messing with me because as I'm eating, but this is the little losers, and they come in all shape and form, like grown men and women doing that. As they do this manipulation, they look at their phone and like, oh my gosh, sometimes they have like tablets, like, I'm looking based on what I'm seeing. It's like, based on what you're seeing something that's being manipulated in my brain. And you little theatric, it's not gonna make me subscribe to that. And then they have the little repetition things, like, yeah, you protect kids, huh? You're gonna hear how they protect kids here. These clowns use these theatrics to try to gaslight you to accept this manipulation. And they play my libido. They make me have sexual arousals over and over and over every time. I see children, they do these degrading things. It's so disgusting. Yesterday they had like this thing here. When I was drinking this juice here, in the back there's something about this. Even me looking at the red here, they stimulated me. These are twins who have a condition of like some kind of syndrome that makes them prone to injuries. I forgot the name of it. And I just got stimulation just seeing a blur of red here, because these two are like twins who are teenagers. And initially, and when you just turn fast like that, you might think that the one in red here, if you don't look, if you just go fast like that, that she look like the mother, and that's the son. She look kind of like the stay-at-home mom looking person, but she's a teenager. But they were stimulating me, and I'm like, even if she was like an adult, this person would never make me have stimulation. And then they were trying to create mental battles yesterday where, because I'm like, even they were trying to make me see her like she was an adult. I was like, even as an adult, I will never see her and get some stimulation. And then they try to create mental battles where they're supposed to make you, think that you're not, those dialogues that you have as a target individual who deal with V2K, you have these dialogues, and V2K synthetic telepathy, they can make you have like dialogue. You think you're talking to, it's your own dialogue. It's not. They in your brain playing with you, having those dialogues and make it look like it's you. And so they were like, oh, but it's like, this is just too obvious. It's not even, and they try to mess with me because they do this nasty manipulation when I see little girls, little kids. And at this point, they're not trying to make these little girls look like, especially the little babies. They're not trying to make them look like adults in my brain. They just give me stimulation and create this pedophilia type of stimulation. Which at that point, they just try to paint you as like a pedophile. Versus her, they try to make her look like she's an adult, give you stimulation, and be like, oh, you see. So they were trying to create mental battles, like, with the little girls. This is like you just trying to make it look like you're. And they're recreating the dialogues to be like, oh, little girls is true. Little girls is true. It's like trash. Let it be these teenagers or these little girls. I will never interest none of it. And they twist the dialogues into something else. When what you're saying is like, when you do the little girl thing, you manipulate me toward the little girls to have these experiences. You're just trying to make me feel like I'm, like a pedophile. When you do that toward this, you almost try to trick the person to look like she's an adult. And even as an adult, if she was an adult, you wouldn't even be able to, like, you wouldn't even feel anything. So they were trying to be like, oh, and they really want you to be subscriptive of this. I will never let you leave your fantasy. Let it be from the little girls that you force me to get sexual arousal when I see them, the nasty pedophilia type of torture. Or let it be the ones where you try to trick me to think they're adult and then play with my brain, and then I will never allow these clowns to leave this fantasy. And this is the nasty ways they attack the mind. In the program where they torture little girls, this trash are rewiring people to have these experiences and then try to gaslight you and make themselves look like they're the one protecting little girls in a program where 3-year-old toddlers are banging their head on the floor because they're being tortured. then send these clowns around you supposed to gaslight you. But going back to the libido manipulation, like I said, they do this nasty manipulation of my libido over and 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 over. So at some point, you're gonna have to. For me, the libido is so played with, it gets painful that at some point you're gonna have to release, because the intensity of the manipulation is gonna get worse. So the more libido you have, the more intense it can be. So once a month, now it's been once every 2 months, I guess. I watch. It messes with me. I watch adult content and do what I need to do. I'm sorry for being graphic. You've heard me say that many times, but this is what's happened to in my targeting and target video. I know it's supposed to be embarrassing, but I'm not gonna be the one embarrassed for how they torment me. So once a month, at this point it's less than once a month. It's because last time was in January. I watch adult content and release. The reason why I do that is because it kills off a little bit the libido, and so the intensity of what they make me experience is less, till I can't anymore, and then maybe 2 months later I have to do it. And so Friday or Saturday was like another day where I watch adult content and release. Prior to that, it was in January. Now, when I do that, as I'm watching adult content, and I don't want to be graphic, but this is the way I try to kind of combat these manipulations that's degrading and to rewire my brain. But even when I'm watching adult content, guess what they implant in my brain? You've seen it in my video. They start making me think of children. When I'm climaxing, to train my brain like that, this time I had to bang my head because they're training my brain in this way. It's so nasty. As I'm watching a man and a woman being intimate, as I'm climaxing, my brain is being forced to think of children via this technology, and then they pretending like they're protecting children, little girls. It's nasty. And they're like, no, it's your brain. So they send these clowns like that. Supposed to gaslight you and accept that because it's my brain that's being manipulated. I should be accepting of this. You know, can you imagine somebody try to be seen doing these things, doing this disgusting manipulation? You imagine the level of aggression you might have toward them. You imagine how much hatred and rage that can be built when you are watching a man and a woman, and all of a sudden, as you climaxing, children are implanted in your brain, and these clowns like that who want you to think that this is something normal, that you're not being manipulated. They send these clowns around, and they think that with me, what's happening is they want you, like when they do this thing, they do these things and try to sound like childlike, almost innocent. I'm like, oh, it would be so dangerous if these clowns were doing that in front of me. That some trash will try to think somebody will ever believe that I'm watching man and a woman, and also my brain, as I'm climaxing, a child is put in my brain. That this is normal. That this is something that nothing's been happening to my brain. I heard this trash say, you might be as trash. Try to go into the little noise campaign. They expect me to subscribe. They play this. They gamify something that can kill them. They have no shame. Now, clearly, they're doing this nasty manipulation. And let me just give you a reference. There might be things that they say with me. Like I said, they have childlike individual like this, and there's more childlike individual than this here. And so there might be reference is when this whole thing started, maybe a few months, they wake you up like at 3 or 4 hours, which is 3 or 4 in the morning, which is funny because a woman was saying the bewitching hours. They wake you up super early in the morning, 3:30, 4, and start just messing with you after you not being able to sleep. Okay. And they're like, yeah, you are. And you're like, you just try to go back to say, okay, I might be, And they're like, oh, you might be. And so now, when they do this manipulation, it's like, oh, you might be, huh? You even heard the honking. So when they do this nasty manipulation, then they're like, oh, you might be, huh? When in truth, they were just agitating you, annoying you at 3, 4 in the morning, and you try to go back to sleep and try to dismiss them and saying, okay, I might be, huh? And like, oh. And as they do this manipulation, they send these little retards who think they've successfully brainwashed you. So, for me, that's what is happening when I'm watching adult content. They rewire my brain. But then they try to gaslight me. It's like, oh, you see, the jerk theory. Let me just say this. Not too long ago, I heard somebody say jerk theory. And what that refers to, because what they do today, when they manipulate me to have these experiences, what they say is like, no, we're matching to you as a kid. Me in 8th grade, I did something a child is capable of doing. Me as a middle schooler. And you hear all this honking, this noise campaign. They try to go through the holo scripts to try to gaslight me. And so today, as an adult, they force me to get these experiences, the stimulations, and like, now we're matching to you as a child. And once again, they use these clowns here, which I think there's some trash in the hallway doing their best to stop me. And so today as an adult, when I'm being forced to get this experience, they're like, no, we're mapping, we're pairing. No, you're manipulating my brain. I'm not a child. I'm a grown adult person. And the thing is, today when I do this thing where that once a month or so, I watch adult content and release myself, they're like, oh, but remember what you did when you were a kid. Because when I was a child, I did this thing to myself inappropriately as a child. And today when I'm a grown adult man watching adult content, because at this point it's because of these clowns doing this nasty manipulation to me and releasing myself by watching adult content, they try to be like, oh, I see, remember the jerk theory, bringing up what I did as a child, and thinking that adults today, grown men and women, don't do these things to themselves to release. Matter of fact, this is how stupid it is. When I was talking to this guy, he was trying to convince me that this manipulation is not the manipulation they do, but based on the jerk theory. The jerk theory is basically trying to refer to what I did when I was a child in 8th grade. And I'm like, yeah, the jerk theory. What about the child being torture theory? But you dumbass, you think I'm going to let you live your fantasy. Clearly, you're manipulating my brain, and clearly you're in a program where there's a theory of you guys torturing children. But then they try to make me feel guilty for doing this thing to myself to release. Well, that is nothing wrong with that. The truth is, I don't think it's healthy mentally. But according to these physicians, and I love to put that in their face, there was a study that showed that men that does that more than 21 times a month, which sounds a lot, but more than 21 a month, actually have a better. Let me just read this better. Sorry for the finding higher frequency of doing this thing 21 times a month associated with lower prostate cancer risk. So it's part of, basically they say, like, if you do that plus other things, you are lower risk to get prostate cancer. So it's becoming now a thing that people look at. Okay, so there's also health beneficial from that. And I was listening to a podcast, and they brought this study, and everybody's like, "Oh, how often do you do it? How often do you do it?" And they're talking about the stroke theory. Talk about, hey, I don't know if I can do 21 times, but and it's like, yo, so with you by yourself or you. And there was a whole conversation that they were laughing about. Well, these clowns wanted me to think that if you're doing that, it's just matching to, it's trash. You're a bunch of clown who rewires me when I'm watching adult content, implanting children in my brain. Matter of fact, after I was done doing it, a few hours later, they're like, oh, actually you did it because you remember when you had that conversation with this guy because he was talking about his child and they started stimulating me like 2-3 weeks ago. The guy who came up with that's why 3 weeks later you did it. When in reality, it's because they do that non-stop. Every time there's even a child being heard or something and they play my libido this degrading way. Then they start to be like, oh, no, you did this. It's like, I did this because you guys are playing my libido so much that some release needs to happen. And I do it the normal way. But while I'm doing that, well, guess what you guys do? You implant your nastiness. You implant children in my brain as I'm climax. And rewire me. It's not just rewire me. It's like they're conditioning me. You know what they're trying to do when they want you to, when you are climaxing, implanting children. You know what they're trying to do. You know what I'm being told right now? I miss that these people have won. Tiger Mitchell, stay strong. You might feel like you missed, but please, I reassure you, this trash are here to torment you. They try to make it look like they're the one who look normal and you're the crazy one. Can you imagine living life like that? Where as you're climaxing, they know that they're going to implant children in your brain and be like, this you is matched it. Then these clowns be like, oh, but you're watching adult content and doing this, well, pay, match. And then you hear in the news that, by the way, health news, men who do this more than 21 times a month have a lower risk to get prostate cancer. The whole podcast talking about how many times they do it. Then having these clowns here. Try to gaslight you. Thank you, God. I know I'd rather die in hell and suffer than live life like them. These clowns have proven to be harming children and women. It's proven that what they do is traumatizing to children. And you know how proven it is?
Dr. Catherine Hort.
Throw these people at them to terrorize.
This is what they do to children.
Sexual abuse. And I've heard all these stories. One guy believed it was some 14-year-old kid with an Xbox that lived next door. The trickery really is that great when you're under hypnosis that people will believe something other than a massive government.
This is Robert Duncan describing, you see these neighbors that I'll show you, they're supposed to gaslight you to make you believe that this is anything but a massive government. When in reality, there's just some little losers participating in this program that, thank God, I didn't even get the option to be a little loser like them. Listen to this.
Could do this.
Miss Catherine Nestor.
This is proven how they protect children.
My name is Catherine Nestor, and I'm from Pennsylvania. This commission has spoken of a long history of abuse of the human research subject. Although no one mentioned MKUltra today, President Clinton recently apologized for this. My young child and I have been used as non-consensual test subjects. We have been subjected to COINTELPRO-like stalking, remote neural monitoring, and electromagnetic torture, resulting in psychological and physical damage. And I won't go into the details of that because I have 4 pages written in here that is very similar to Connie's testimony. Please do not wait 70 years to investigate this. I ask Dr. Amy Gutmann to begin today.
I am currently a speech-language pathologist working in private practice with young children. I had a 7-year-old client who has autism, and she was the most significantly affected of all of my clients. I eventually had to tell this client to go to another clinic, and they used her to threaten the most torture in me as well as their most extreme forms of torture. For several months, she would cry and scream horribly during our therapy sessions despite having a great day at school. This was highly unusual behavior for her, as she usually behaved very well during her therapy session. Her gasping for air a few times in the same way that I do when I am being more severely suffocated. The suffocation had been in a mild state for a while up until this point. Many of their torture methods are cyclical in severity. Right after I saw this child being suffocated, then I began to experience very extreme suffocation all day, every day, for about 2 months straight, and that's also when they made it worse when I eat. Then I also work with a 4-year-old little girl with Down syndrome, as well as her 5-year-old sister, who also has Down syndrome. I observed both of these girls suddenly grabbing their genitals in pain and verbalizing, "ow." I observed this at least on 1 or 2 occasions for each of them during their separate sessions. During one session, I observed one of my 3-year-old clients suddenly grab his crotch and lean forward in his chair. And then he made a frightening grimace of severe and have had
Yeah. So, we've spoken a few times. I'm going through the same thing. Our situations are a little different. So I have the full-blown artificial telepathy. You're definitely receiving broadcasts because I've seen it in your photos. And, isn't it strange that sometimes you could feel some type of way that's not your feelings?
Yeah, they do that a lot. Can project anger, fear, weird feelings. They can do pretty much anything that has access to the brain or to the mind.
Right.
Not just me. I have children, and so my children are able to say certain things, like they can feel certain things.
Right.
Zaps on their body.
So you clearly hear what they do to children. As I was listening to that, the things that was happening in my mind, they were playing with my brain, making me imagine some adult content and give me stimulation, which they're probably planning to rewire this to go somewhere else. Doing everything possible to distract me from this. Hearing this trash talking. Listen, there's nothing, they will never normalize this evilness they're part of, because this is what they do. Listen, that evil doesn't have a look, okay? I see this little retard, I see them for the evil they're part of. I have no sympathy. They're accountable for what they're part of, and they take a lot of pride to negate this. Listen to this 3-year-old here being tortured.
The Supreme Court on the first suffering, anxiety, and loss, and requests remedies including removal from the TSDB and damages. That is the core Fraley-specific symptom set and theory as pled in the excerpted complaint text. 3. HF's allegations, what Fraley claims happened to the child. In the same reproduced complaint excerpt, the filing describes HF as Fraley's daughter and a toddler, specifically referred to as 3-year-old. The text uses 3-year-old daughters, but the context is HF as the single minor plaintiff child. The allegations about the child's symptoms are described as, after the filing of the complaint, HF allegedly began showing signs of DVTK, and because she is incapable of verbalizing, Fraley says she inferred symptoms through behavioral changes, including irritability, slamming her head against the floor, extremely high body temperature upon waking, among others. The allegations about ongoing harm include alleged irritability, anguish, sweating, pain, and suffering every day, with asserted unknown damages to the child's developing brain.
That's from the lawsuit, the Target Justice versus Garland, where 19 plaintiffs, inclusive of HF, a 3-year-old toddler, was one of them, and described in this documents what the mother observed the 3-year-old toddler going through. You know, this trash for the things they were saying, like, yeah, you're no longer, because they're trying to bring up what I did as a child, like, oh, so trash. So you guys no longer torture children? You no longer torture, and by the way, me saying torture, they try to change it to something else. They no longer torture children like HF? Clown. I'll never internalize this nasty manipulation from me, especially people who do these things to children.
To children, they're implanting children with atrocious dreams, many of them of a sexual nature. And it's just eyes. And we have children as young as 3 years old that are hearing voices. They have implanted dreams, very violent and some in sexual nature. So American taxpayer money is being used, and this is
because that day that was one of the first hearings I went to, and that day I forgot to bring my flyers with me. I did bring my cards, but I forgot to bring the flyers because I didn't know I was going to be able to see them. And I just blurted out and I said, little girls are being microwaved by the CIA. And he was surrounded by women, like in his staff.
This is reality. They make me think of this disgusting little trash next door. I'm so thankful. Target Individual, please invest in the body cam. If you deal especially with gang stalking, community stalking, having a body cam is such a helpful thing. For me, it's also helpful because you could just what they can do to my brain and how they play my perception. They make me think of this little retard teenage nastiness. I'm telling you, I'm not here to insult somebody physical appearance, but man, the way they can play my brain and versus what they look like is scary. And this little trashy shit knows this. Excuse my language. That's how much hatred I have for them. And so they want to be visible, and you can see the little trying to walk in front of me is knowing that in my brain the way they're gonna make me perceive this little retarded it's gonna be differently. Some little disgusting, and they know that. That's why they're scared to be on camera. Because if they do this thing on camera, please believe I'll be the first to look at this little retarded looking trash here trying to make themselves seen. They know what they look like, but they know my brain can be played to make them look something differently. This is a little try, and they make me think of the version of the way they create what they look like. But they'll never get back on camera. If the camera is on hold, we don't be embarrassed. Trying to be so. Ugh. That's why today I have my body cam. And they tried to make me think of another one. I was on the way, and she was trying to. It's like, you can play my brain, but look at this. Look at the reality. I will never allow this low life to leave the fantasy. Now it becomes dangerous too, because these are people involved in what you just heard. They thought the tantrum can cover that up, and they're not fully mentally developed. Not only they're entitled, but they expect you to just let them live. It's like what you're doing is what people can do aggressive things toward. For every action, that action, there's a reaction. You act this way, you're part of this, you're calling yourself at war doing these things, so what am I supposed to do? Should I act like I'm at war too? Does it mean that it's wartime? But if you do this, it's what people do at war? This little retard thing, they can do these things. Be this, that, and people should restrain. No. If this is war, act of war, it means I can do an act of war too. The little tantrum here, it comes at a price. But obviously, that's not somewhere where I want to go. But this is the stupidity around me. And I'm so thankful. And right now, they're making me imagine this little weirdo she was trying. They were having these fake arguments like they like to have. I opened and gave my package. This little teenager, and unfortunately, my camera wasn't working. And that's why she was like, trying to be seen. And like, I'm like, ugh. I go back to check on the camera. I was like, oh, it didn't film. There was an issue. To see what this little retard did. Now, I'm like, come. Yesterday, somebody delivered something to me, and they were like, the camera, what's the camera? Like, I told her, like, I don't go outside without this. I don't step out without this. You know why? This trash gonna be seen behaving this way, looking the way they actually look like. Taking just stay strong. Do not internalize this manipulation. Understand you being manipulated and played with. Right now, they're making me think of when I was going to the doctor. There was some teenage. You can hear me say, "Look," in different language. She wanted to show her, and it's funny part. Like she wanted to hide her face, so I don't see her. That she's a kid, and I'm like, I know she's a kid. Okay, try to show her butt. I said that, and my brain, they kind of play with my brain. But like, yeah, I see when there's like trash, I was gonna have this little trashy little teenage trash, and I can call them out. Nobody is interested in this little trash. They know that. They know that there's no interest there. But in my brain, they can play in my brain to perceive them a certain way. Nobody wants your dumbass. You know that even by looking at me, they know that there's not even like a chance. Nobody wants you. And yesterday I made a video about this retard called Don Goron. These next door neighbors who start talking. I was like, oh my gosh, is she mentally retarded? Taking me just stay strong. Thank God I didn't live like this clown. It could be one of these retards that sound like they're mentally challenged. You know how much noise campaign is happening around me, the messages and all that to try to break me down? They will deal with the reality till my last breath.